Welcome back. Let me get some claps in the audience. Claps in the audience for another certified. We're going to be talking about Daredevil Born Again, man. The premiere just dropped a couple days ago. Tuesday night, I think it was. I've watched the episodes at least 25 times by now. So I am ready to give you guys a solid, decent, hard-boiled review that you'll enjoy. Let's talk about Daredevil Born Again. First things first, this is going to be, a lot of spoilers, man. I'm going to be talking about everything that we watch. Listen, if you haven't seen the episodes yet, click off the video. So let's talk about it, man. Let's start talking about it. First things first, we have to talk about the tragedy, the devastating opening that episode 1 has, with Bullseye coming back from the dead, even though he wasn't dead, and killing Foggy immediately, straight off top. Now, when I heard before the show came out, there were rumors that they were going to be killing Foggy. You had set pics coming out. You had, little things that the writers would say, little things that the actors would say, to where you're just like, okay, they're probably killing somebody, right? And it's probably going to be Foggy. I did not think that they would kill Foggy within the first 10 minutes. I thought that Foggy would be dead sometime during mid-season. You know what I mean? They would build up to it. I respect the decision to just kill him in the first 10 minutes and get started with the show that you have. We know that this show went through a little bit of, not an overhaul, but more so it went through some creative differences with other creators and stuff like that. To kind of bring back the feeling of the old Daredevil show mixed with what they wanted to do. And I think they did that successfully here with killing Foggy off at first and getting you into the new supporting cast, the new environment that Matt Murdock is in now, 7 years after the events of season 3. I think they did that as well as they could have without, absolutely planning at first that this is what we want to do. They kind of had to come in the middle of development and then kind of change it around. So I think they did a good job with that. I understand what they wanted to do is that they just wanted to create a new environment for Matt Murdock to essentially be born again, like the title says. That comic, it strips Matt down to his, soul. It strips him down to all that. So that's what they're doing in the first episode, and it kind of makes sense. It makes sense. Obviously, they didn't kill Karen Page. They killed Foggy, but, I understand what they're doing. It's just that it was definitely, heartbreaking for Foggy to just die off. But to talk about that scene a little bit more, let's talk about how Bullseye came back and was absolutely a menace, man. Absolutely a menace. I just love the way that they showed off Bullseye in this opening scene, how menacing he is, how threatening he is, how powerful he is. It's just like, man, this guy, you can't catch a break with Bullseye, man. He's getting up from the earlier fight that they had in the scene. This guy throws 2 8-balls, back, one at Daredevil, one at a random old woman civilian. And Daredevil has to make the split-second choice in a half-second. It's a blink and you miss it moment, but Daredevil has to make this split-second choice to either, save himself or save this lady. And of course, if he tries to save the lady, he's gonna get bonked in the head with a pool ball, and that would obviously lead to concussion type stuff from Bullseye. What a nuts opening scene. I do think that some of the images, well, not the images, some of the scenes in it were a little wonky, a little weird with the CGI and stuff like that. I don't know why, they went like that, but it didn't totally break immersion for me. I was just like, oh, that looks a little weird. You know what I mean? That looks a little weird. I really like the parallels that we're getting with Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock. And it kind of starts in episode 1 where they have the little diner talk, and you're seeing that they're both really trying to hold back who they truly are. And they, inside of them, they desperately want to, break out and be who they want to be. But they know that the outside, there are other, characters in their lives, the other people in their lives would be, devastated by that, or would be hurt by them becoming who they truly are. I don't know about Vanessa, but Fisk's whole imagery of trying to be mayor and trying to save the city, his goal of saving New York would be devastated if he became the old Wilson Fisk and he truly slipped back into that maniacal, psychotic, at any point he could absolutely murder you for, anything that you say that is just this much with the wrong tone. And then you have Matt Murdock, who is trying to be a good man, trying to, similarly to Wilson Fisk, he's trying to save the city, but he knows that inside he wants to be something violent. He wants to do and commit violence to save the city. He wants to do that. The inside, that's what he wants to do. That's why when he tells Karen Page, I'm not going to let him, he's saying I'm not letting it out, but he's really saying like I want to do it desperately, but I can't, because if I do, I'm going to go nuts. And another creator, Arian P, I think it was, that's his YouTube channel. Another creator had said that this is like if Batman meets Matt Murdock, and I'm understanding a little bit why he said that, because if he knows that if he flips that switch, he won't be able to flip it back. You know what I mean? And I think that's awesome. You can see it in Charlie Cox's performance. Charlie Cox is amazing, by the way. He's absolutely perfect as Daredevil. He's great. He's great. You can see it in his performance. He's fighting demons. You know what I mean? He's fighting demons. And I love that this show, as opposed to the Netflix show, which I love the Netflix show. I thought it was fantastic. But Matt Murdock was the lead of that show. It wasn't anybody else. Kingpin was more so of a supporting character. I think by having them in this show be so paralleled, it actually enhances the experience a little bit, because you're watching two co-leads. You're watching two guys who are more similar than they want to admit, and they're struggling with that. They're struggling with who they really are. And I think it's going to be interesting to find out how across the season, as the episodes come out, it's going to be interesting to find out if these guys truly do let their past selves and let the inside of them, really break out. And I think that's awesome. That's awesome to see. It also is doing something different in terms of making New York a character within itself, with the interviews of the civilians. I love that. I love that they have that in the episodes. You kind of get a feel of how people around the city are feeling about events that are going on. It's kind of like how in Spider-Man PS4, the game, you can like read the newspaper, like you can read tweets from people, from people around the city, and see how they feel about events that just happened in the game. They're kind of doing that in the show, which I think is a fantastic aspect of the show, and making New York a supporting character as a whole. But I think one thing so far that the past Netflix show probably has done better is the development of supporting characters. Now, we're only 2 episodes in, so of course, there's time for the supporting characters to really grow and for you to love. But I'm not really vibing with the supporting characters as much as I vibe with Karen and Foggy. But I'm just saying how I feel so far. The supporting characters, they're cool. You know what I mean? I want to like Cherry, and I want to like Kirsten. I think I like Kirsten more than I like Cherry. But we're gonna see how it turns out. But just right now, I'm just not vibing with those supporting characters. I wonder if we're gonna be taking on, sub B plots and C plots with those characters. In episode 2, we kind of did, but it was just so short that you barely had any time to. It was it wasn't a blink and you miss it, but it was definitely like episode 2 was definitely at a breakneck pace to where like you couldn't really, slow down and really understand the characters and what they're going for and who they are as people. I like the fact that Cherry is, I did like that scene in episode 2 where Cherry was talking to Matt and he was like, listen, man, you can't do this. You can't, become Daredevil again. And I thought that was what we really needed. And that really brings like, okay, I got something for Cherry. I like Cherry. He wants Matt to be a better person. You know what I mean? He wants Matt to be a better man. but Matt inside is just, you know what I mean? It's that internal struggle that Matt is dealing with that he's also hearing from the outside. This show is a little bit different in the way that it stylizes and the way that it, the shots of the show are different. It's a little bit cleaner. It looks more like a movie instead of a TV show, kind of like how the past one did. Past one looked more like a TV show. This one looks more like a movie. It's not a bad thing, but you can tell like there are differences with the lighting. They take inspiration with the lighting, but they also do their own thing with this show. It's not an ugly show at all. I like looking at it. It's just there are differences, and it looks like clean. This show looks clean, and the past show was more dirty, grungy, nasty, in its production, and they did that on purpose, and I thought that was beautiful. That fit the vibe of the show well, but this one is more so clean, pristine, more so for, the movie. Like, I could definitely see this being in a theater. You could kind of tell it's part of the MCU. That's another thing that I wanted to say. The way that it feels when you're watching the show, it kind of feels like you're not watching the past Daredevil show, but you're also not watching an MCU Disney Plus show. That's the way that it feels. That's the way that, it kind of feels like Daredevil Law and Order. That's how it feels. That's exactly how it feels, actually. Daredevil Law and Order. And I think that's a cool take on Daredevil, to really, emphasize the court aspect and the lawyer aspect of Daredevil, and, really juxtapose that with the mayoral aspect of Wilson Fisk and him trying to save the city through, the way that he's doing things, with the law and stuff like that. It's just two different sides of the same coin. And that's another way that the parallel, kind of throughout the show's storytelling so far. So I really like the first two episodes. I think that episode 2 was like super fast. Episode 1 was probably better in terms of like, the pacing and stuff like that. But also the ending of episode 2 is nuts. The ending of episode 2 makes you want to come back for another episode and see what Matt Murdock is doing this week. You know what I mean? So I think Daredevil Born Again started off strong. There are a couple things I'm slightly worried about, like the supporting cast, like some of the, Catholicism. It's not as deep in there as you want it to be, but you can understand why, because Foggy died and because, the beginnings of the show. But I hope they eventually, as the theme suggests and as the title suggests, eventually Daredevil is rebuilt, with everything that we love, the supporting cast, the Catholicism, the religious aspect of the show, and him also being, a good guy. You know what I mean? So eventually this will be rebuilt, and we're watching him build himself again. So I'm excited for the rest of the season. I just had to get my thoughts out there, let you guys know how I was feeling. I really liked the first 2 episodes. I probably give them, actually, I don't want to give them a rating right now. I'm going to wait until the end of the season. But yeah, so if you guys have any thoughts on Daredevil Born Again, did you guys like it? Do you not like it? Do you have any problems with the show? Comment below, let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Maybe we'll talk about it again. Deuces.